My name is Paul Callaghan, and I want to tell you about a remarkable opportunity that's arisen. In doing so, I'm speaking to you as part of your New Zealand tertiary education community back home, to you, an educated Kiwi living abroad. You'll all know about the terrible suffering caused by the second Canterbury earthquake, the impact on the lives of the people in Christchurch and surrounding districts, and of course the huge impact on New Zealand as a whole and our economy. At the same time, we're all very aware of the suffering in Japan from the impact of their earthquake and tsunami. And it might surprise you to know that the effects of our earthquake on our economy are perhaps even greater than that of Japan's earthquake on theirs. So where's the opportunity? Well, when disaster strikes, remarkable possibilities do arise. And just to give you a simple example, you think about the 20,000 University of Canterbury students who stopped studying, picked up shovels or started pushing wheelbarrows and went out into the streets and the homes of Christchurch to help. They not only earned the admiration of all New Zealanders, but I think in many ways they've transformed their own lives. I'm quite sure there'll be some remarkable leaders who will emerge from that group of young people. One thing that's very clear is that young New Zealanders, when highly motivated and assisted in their communication by social media, are really capable of quite remarkable acts. So where do you come in? Well, New Zealand has about 1 million of its citizens living abroad, and amongst that are a group of 85,000 who owe student loans. And the total value of those overseas held student loans is $2 billion. Now there's something very special about that $2 billion in that it's essentially held in a foreign currency. Now, when we New Zealanders at home make donations or pay taxes in order to assist the rebuilding of Christchurch, we help share the pain, we spread the burden. But it's an internal transfer within our economy. The society as a whole is still poorer for the huge damage that's done to New Zealand by the earthquake. But when funds come from offshore into our economy, it makes an enormous difference. An example would be, say, the insurance underwriting from overseas insurers. But another example, of course, is that debt to New Zealand in the student loan. Because essentially, when those dollars come in, they're like a shot in the arm to the New Zealand economy. It's essentially a cost on other countries' economies and, of course, on the individuals, you who are paying them back. That really is the huge help to New Zealand. Now, I know that many of you have made donations, and on behalf of New Zealand, I really do thank you for that. And I know that many of you are paying off your student loans. And again, I think that we do really appreciate that in this country and acknowledge it. But amongst the 85,000, there are about 35,000 who are falling behind in their repayments or in fact are unable or have not decided not to make repayments. And it's to you I want to make an appeal. And I want to make it clear, I don't want to ask you to do something you can't manage. And I certainly don't want to ask you to do something that's financially impossible. But if on reflection, if on thinking about this, you feel that it would be possible to make a repayment, then let me assure you this would make an enormous difference. Because if a minority does this, then the effect is significant. We're talking millions of dollars here. But if most of you were to do it, then you would change history and you would become the stuff of legend. As of February the 22nd, 2011, New Zealand's not the same country. Yesterday's gone and we need to start again today. Abraham Lincoln said, "As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves and then we will save our country." So my call to you is to think about moving from being an educated Kiwi expatriate to an heroic educated Kiwi expatriate. And I do this asking humbly and respectfully and acknowledging the fact that I'm of an older generation who were fortunate enough not to have a student loan to get our education. So who am I to ask you? Well, like you, I've worked overseas and I know the value of my New Zealand education when I was working abroad. And through personal contact with many of you, I know how frustrated so many of you are at not being able to help Christchurch and help New Zealand more. But here, at this particular moment in our country's history, you have the chance to make a real difference. In a sense, to become part of an heroic few, our band of brothers and sisters. Because if you do this, you will change history as heroes and heroines. And you can be sure that your country will honour you for generations to come. I want to finish with the words spoken by a New Zealand leader to another generation in another time. It's the man on our $50 banknote, Apirana Ngata. Oi mai koe ki aho, he aha te mea nui o te ao, mako I ka atu. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. Kia ora tātou, kia kaha, ake, ake, ake.